it's time for Dirty Story Night. We're at second place in our free theme month. Kristin Orals The Office. Enjoy.
Hi. This story... Oh, sorry. I'm Kristin, by the way. This story is called The Orifice. Dwight wasn't 100% certain that the corporate memo wasn't one of Jim's juvenile pranks, but he couldn't take the chance of not following it to the letter if it was legitimate. The Schrute family had a rich tradition of securing their positions of authority and dominance by blindly following orders, and he would make his forebears proud. If forming an actual human chain with his superior would guarantee his place above Jim in the office chain of command, he would be Michael's subordinate all day long. That is how he found himself bent over his desk, brown polyester pants and tidy whities around his ankles, with Michael standing in a similar state of undress behind him. Michael, too, seemed confused by this new corporate policy, but he loved this company, and also had not been laid in an embarrassingly long time. "Jim," Michael said with uncertainty, "sure you don't want to throw your hat in the ring here? Pretty good deal. Date with someone named Katie, jack off, sack off," Dwight corrected him quickly, a hint of lust in his voice. "Sure," Michael continued, rolling his eyes. "A date with her and undisputed assistant regional manager title. Assistant to the regional manager," Jim corrected him. "And nah, I'm good." He smiled happily, and Michael wondered why he was holding his phone out in front of him like that. "Son of a... Okay, Michael looked desperately around the room to see if any of his other loyal employees might be potential candidates. Oscar was an obvious choice, but his experience was intimidating. Meredith... Ugh. Actually, Michael, I would be interested in... God, no, Toby, gross! Nobody wants to see your dump trumpet. Ugh. Michael gagged at the thought. "Michael, it's okay. This is how it's meant to be," Dwight said with surprising calm and confidence. He glanced behind him from his lowered position and caught a glimpse of Michael's bed snake. Pam had been wrong in her assessment of its size. It was not an iPod mini. Taking a deep breath, he turned back around and braced himself on his forearms. He found himself staring into the eyes of his beloved bobblehead likeness, and he instinctively reached up and turned the trinket to face away from him. "Don't think of me like this," he whispered. And with that, he felt the tip of Michael's cave hunter tentatively touch the opening of his mud dungeon. As the pressure grew and he felt himself pucker in resistance, he thought of Schrute Farms and the legacy that he was securing for himself, and also of all the homoerotic activity that his farm residents seemed so fond of. There was Bruce, the chubby and apparently bottom pig. Gunter, the aggressively flamboyant goat. Mose. And he let himself relax and try to enjoy this newfound kinship he felt with his livestock and Mose. "You really are my superior, Michael," he whispered submissively. This seemed to boost Michael's confidence, and Dwight felt Michael's shaft twitch before pushing further inside of his poop chute. His Schrute poop chute. "Dwight, you really are an ignorant slut," Michael uttered, testing out the dirty talk that Jan had always tried to force on him. "Very good, guys. Communication can make the experience much more enjoyable for both parties," Oscar praised them helpfully. Phyllis nodded in full agreement. Pleased by Oscar's approval, Michael began to thrust more assertively. "You want this, Dwight? You want me to give you your Dundee Award?" "Absolutely I do," Dwight declared, turned on by Michael's newfound boldness. He always had been a bitch for authority. He pictured his anus as a delicate flower opening to allow in the heat from as a cow's vagina that must accept the determined penis of the bull because nature and male dominance. Best he stick with imagery that he could respect. "Here's your Dundee Award for tightest ass in the office," Michael began, pumping harder, finding his rhythm. "No, Michael, you can't rescind that award from Angela. You give it to her every year, and owie, she may say that she hates it and call you a misogynistic ape, oof, but she actually takes great pride in that figurative stick perpetually up her. Dwight, shut it!" Michael's voice sounded strained, and Dwight snuck a glance behind him to look at the face of his conqueror. Nose scrunched in concentration, beads of sweat glistening on his forehead, penis at full swell inside of his bumhole. Dwight sensed that the climax was nigh, and he knew immediately what he had to do. He took a deep, fortifying breath. "Donkey punch!" Dwight shouted, and with surprising accuracy and force, he threw his fist into the back of his own head. The sudden pain... This is a real thing. The sudden pain had the intended effect. He felt his rusty bullet hole reflexively grip Michael's meat baton. "Great Scott!" Michael shouted involuntarily as his love snot filled Dwight's posterior cavity, his hips inadvertently jerking, legs shaking. As the room filled with admiring and disbelieving applause, Dwight couldn't hide a tiny smile of satisfaction and smugness. His orifice had sealed his grip on the office. As Michael's man juice dripped down his gooch, he thought of everything he'd gained, the undisputed title of assistant regional manager. Suck it, Jim! The fear and respect of his inferiors, and a new bedtime story for Bruce, Gunter, and Mose.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's got the time?